Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Kruk and Kuip Extra Innings. This is the last Sunday show on this channel. This is the show everybody's been waiting for. This is the final week before the regular season starts, so get ready. It's almost here. It is almost here, and this will be the last show on this channel. We're going to be moving to as Kruk and Kuip Extra Innings. Will be moving to its own channel as of Thursday for opening day baseball. Tonight we got a lot to talk about. We'll do signings, just a skosh of in case you missed it. We are also going to preview the NL West, a preview of the Giants season, the 25-man roster, other roster moves. This is going to be a jam-packed show. Let's start off with the signings. The New York Yankees acquired Anielo Gomez as a Rule 5 draft return from the Atlanta Braves, since he did not make the 25-man roster in Atlanta. The Kansas City Royals signed Clay Buchholz to a minor league contract. The Oakland A's signed Brent Anderson to a minor league contract. That definitely helps with the injuries that have occurred to Jarrell Cotton and now Paul Blackburn, who's going to probably start the season on the disabled list. Philadelphia Phillies traded Eliezer Alvarez to Texas for cash. The Mariners claimed Dario Alvarez off of waivers. The Toronto Blue Jays acquire Sam Gaviglio for a player to be named later or cash considerations. The Phillies release Ryan Flaherty. And in a surprise move, the New York Mets optioned Zach Wheeler to AAA. Carlos Torres released. The Royals released Michael Saunders and Ricky Nolasco. The Twins claim Kenneth Vargas off of waivers. The Philadelphia Phillies released Francisco Rodriguez. And yesterday's news in a stunner, Scott Kazmir was released by the Atlanta Braves. And this was another surprise roster move, was Yasveni Tomas optioned by the Arizona Diamondbacks to AAA Reno. And the New York Mets signed Fernando Abad to a minor league contract. The St. Louis Cardinals released former closer Jason Mott. The Nationals released Jeremy Hellickson, so he's maybe available. So that could be some options there. And now on to a little bit of in case you missed it before we go to the Giants releases and stuff. Last time we saw the Giants on October 1st of last year, Pablo Sandoval hit one high. He hits it deep. It is out of here. Then he with walk-off heroics to end the season. And then afterwards, the furniture was rearranged. Dave Righetti was pitching Giants pitching coach Dave Righetti was reassigned to the front office in a head scratcher move. Mark Gardner was reassigned. Hitting coach Hensley Mullins was reassigned to the bench. And also let go was Phil Nevin. And now Ron Wotus will become the third base coach this year as they essentially reshuffled the deck. Then afterwards, there was a ton of silence. Then the Giants tried to make a trade for Giancarlo Stanton unsuccessfully. Then they settled for trading for Evan Longoria. And the Giants gave up in that trade for Longoria Christian Arroyo. They gave up two minor league and two pitchers along with Christian Arroyo. And Arroyo, I think Arroyo didn't have great success with the Giants organization last year. Hit below the Mendoza line before he got injured in AAA, and that ruined his season. And also Denard Span was sent to Tampa Bay in the trade for Evan Longoria. Then after that trade, they traded for. Then they also traded for right fielder Andrew McCutchen, in which they gave up Kyle Crick and a couple low end prospect. So that was, and Evan Longoria is going to be under team control for a few years, so that's good there. Whereas Andrew McCutchen, he was acquired. He's essentially a 1-year rental. His contract expires. He kind of worries me as in terms of his last couple years, his power and production have declined a skosh. So we will see how that works out for the Giants. But he's certainly going to probably be a batting 5 or 6 in the order. We'll see. But he should be good for the right field defense. Then after that, they signed Austin Jackson to a 1-year contract. He will likely start the season platooning with Gregor Blanco in the outfield. Then the last thing they did was sign Tony Watson to a 1-year contract, and he'll be that lefty out of the pen to go with Will Smith. And there's certainly a possibility you could see 3 lefties out of the Giants bullpen this year, and that's much better than having to rotate between Okert and Osich, who were marginally successful, shall I say, in getting players out with that lefty. So I think we'll see how Will Smith does when he returns from injury later this year. And hopefully Tony Watson will be good as a lefty specialist this year for the Giants. And then that was essentially, and then they signed Derek Holland to a minor league contract. He's likely going to be starting the year with the Giants. Probably by default, he'll be in the rotation. Then after that, another minor league signing who might make the roster now might be Josh Rutledge. And then we had a nice spring training. Then this last week, the wheels have fallen off on the pitching rotation. And also another big signing this week is Alex Cobb signed with the Baltimore Orioles. And Alex Cobb's contract is worth Alex Cobb signed a 4-year, $57 million contract with the Baltimore Orioles and could be an extended spring training before joining the Orioles the second week of the season. And in roster cuts this week for the Giants, some big roster cuts this week. Mac Williamson and Austin Slater were optioned to Sacramento along with Tyler Beatty, Derek Law, and Roberto Gomez. Beatty has not had that all that wonderful of a spring training, so and definitely shows he needs some more seasoning in Sacramento. So I hope he comes back better than ever. Andrew Suarez was also reassigned along with Yohan Gregorio. I think Suarez certainly could be a candidate to come back up in a couple weeks due to the injuries. We'll see what happens, but he still does need some seasoning in AAA before getting full-time reps in the majors. Justin O'Connor reassigned to minor league camps. Trevor Brown, who may get DFA'd. Hector Sanchez, who will likely be on the 40-man roster, was sent to Sacramento. Orlando Calixte, Chris Shaw. I think Chris Shaw is definitely a kid to watch out for in Sacramento this year. We'll see how many bombs he can hit. Williamson's another one who I'd like to see hopefully can tear it up in AAA and get another opportunity. But he's definitely going to get some good reps, and hopefully he really had a really good spring training, and it gives hope in case, depending on how this season goes, which I will talk about a skosh later. Kyle Jensen also sent to AAA. Chase D'Arnaud was sent to Sacramento, so that's and Steven Duggar has stuck around as of right now in the majors. So definitely Duggar is going to get more reps, and he's definitely going to be somebody to watch out for in Sacramento this year is going to be Steven Duggar. I certainly think he'll be up with the Giants sooner or later, but he still needs some seasoning in AAA before we all. And it worries me to see Derek Law struggles as bad as he has the last couple seasons. I wonder if he's plateaued or something, but he could certainly be in danger of being released if he does not show any improvement in AAA this year. And then when Thursday, this is where the bad news started hitting for the Giants. The first injury was Jeff Samardzija. Samardzija's injury is a pectoral strain. He will probably be out probably 4 to 6 weeks on the disabled list. And that one at first looked like no biggie. We could slide Derek Holland into the starting rotation. The pitcher that got the reprieve was Julian Fernandez. Now we can keep him on the 25-man roster and not have to offer him back to the Colorado Rockies as of right now. So that was very good there. And then Hunter Strickland looking like he could possibly be the closer. But I think Julian Fernandez, one thing that's going for him is he is definitely a flamethrower, and he'll be up with, and he's definitely going to probably be an innings eater for the interim. But we shall see some options here. And then it got worse. Then the injuries just got worse after that game. Unfortunately, Friday, Madison Bumgarner goes down with a hand fracture, and this injury I certainly had to change my projections for the season. And he's going to be gone until at least the month of June on the disabled list due to this hand fracture. And this could be a very costly injury. With the Giants' schedule really being front loaded, this is just worst possible time at the worst stretch of the season. And then now you got Julian Fernandez, but I think Fernandez certainly is an innings eater, and now you're going to have to get really creative with Bumgarner's injury. And there could be some options though to get that fifth spot, but the Giants will run with the 4-man rotation until April 10th due to the number of days off. So we'll see what happens. But the internal candidates are not the greatest. It's Tyler Beatty, who didn't have a great spring training. Another one who did not have a great spring training. What's up, Go Skittle? Another one who did not have a good spring training was Andrew Suarez, but he was slightly better than Beatty. But it's too early to bring Beatty up into the majors. He missed the second half of last year's in AAA, and I just don't think he would be the best option to slide into the 5 role until Samardzija returns from injury. That's definitely not the way to go. I'd like to still see Beatty and Suarez down there getting seasoned, which would mean Price signing somebody from the outside. The good news, though, for the Giants in a sense, is that Albert Suarez was designated for assignment by the Arizona Diamondbacks. That is certainly certainly an option you can consider, since he's likely going to have to be returned to the Giants, being that he's a Rule 5 draftee. So that's definitely an option you could do, is if you are able to get Albert Suarez back, you can definitely slide him into the bullpen for the first few weeks. And then after that, you could possibly put him in the 5 spot of the starting rotation until Samardzija is healthy. That's definitely an option. Suarez didn't have the greatest season, but he was injured half of last year. So maybe if he gets his sea legs together, maybe he could be a serviceable number 5 starter. Then there's other options of pitchers being released. You have Scott Kazmir, but Kazmir was complaining of dead arm yesterday in the game for the Braves, so that's not necessarily a good idea. Another one who could join the Giants rotation, who was cut today, was Jeremy Hellickson. I certainly think Hellickson would be a good pitcher for AT&T Park, and if you can sign him for the league minimum and stay below the CBT, I certainly think Hellickson could definitely be a good number 5 starter for the Giants and be a stopgap option at least until Samardzija returns from injury. So I think that might be where I'm leaning. If not Albert Suarez, might actually be Jeremy Hellickson. I think he would definitely fit well at AT&T Park. And then other options, other pitchers that were released that could be options might be Ricky Nolasco, who's bounced around from team to team. Nolasco's not necessarily a good idea. Nolasco's one option. I think there's somebody else who got cut besides Nolasco. I'm trying to think. But those are probably the most viable options as of right now. But I think I'd go with either getting Albert Suarez back or possibly hello to Von Hook. I think Albert Suarez would probably be one option. And, if they can get Albert Suarez back, he definitely has some experience. Michael Brantley should be ready for opening day. If he's not, he will be ready a couple days later. We'll see. But I think Suarez definitely has experience in the Giants system and would be my choice to maybe bring back Albert Suarez would be a good bridge for the time being. And of course, you have the has-beens in free agency, such as Scott Feldman, you have your Scott Feldman, you have your Ubaldo Jimenez, who's likely done in the majors. You got Jake Peavy, who's trying to make a comeback. Those are definitely not options that you can plug in right away either. They would have to probably go into extended spring training for a few weeks. Greg Bird is on the deal. I think that guy has been pretty injury prone. But there's certainly going to be a lot of, that's going to also put a strain on the Giants bullpen too with the 4-man rotation. But Hellickson, if Giants can bring in Hellickson, I think Hellickson would be maybe my second choice after Suarez. Hellickson could maybe get the Giants some good innings. I think he would definitely be one that could reinvent himself over there at AT&T Park. That's definitely an option. They could definitely take a look at plugging into the Giants rotation at this point. Now the other question is who's going to fill the bullpen. I was just talking about the Bumgarner injury, Von Hook. That was not fun, and it really ruins where I'm projecting the Giants to be this year. Chris Sale, I've heard Chris Sale's going to be fine for opening day. But I think a guy who could maybe lock down one of the bullpen spots with the Giants but the Giants are probably going to go with a 9-man bullpen for the first 2 weeks with 4 starters. Yeah, Bumgarner is supposed to be out till June. That's at least early June, maybe late, maybe even longer with that. But yeah, I think the bullpen, your locks are Corey Guerin. You've got Josh Osich. You've got Corey Guerin's a lock. Josh Osich is a lock. You've got Tony Watson should be a lock. And then Will Smith should rejoin the Giants bullpen for too long. And then Hunter Strickland will be a lock to make the bullpen. Mark Melanson's definitely a guy who's trying to rebound from last year's disaster of a season. And a couple others that could make the bullpens. This would be last chance for Josh Osich. They could roll with 3 lefties now. They could bring back O'Kurt. That's another one they could bring back. But yeah, I think your late innings guys will definitely be a combination of Watson, Strickland, Dyson, and Melanson. I think would be your 4 right there, and then Corey Guerin will definitely be a middle innings guy. And then your lefty specialist might be Osich. And then And then you possibly keep Julian Fernandez, definitely keep him to eat innings. Maybe Reyes Maranta stays for a few weeks to eat innings for the Giants. So we'll see what happens as that's going on, and then we'll see what happens. Oh, Samardzija had a pectoral strain. Samardzija should be out about 1 to 2. Should be out a couple weeks. He might be back, but hopefully before May. Conforto looks ready. But Snelton's definitely one who could threaten for a roster spot this year in Sacramento. And we could see Jonah Arenado start the year in Double A. We'll see how Arenado does in Double A. The brother of Nolan Arenado, Steven Duggar. I certainly think Duggar is going to start the year in Sacramento. Oh, Wainwright's injury. I don't know if that's going to be a big deal for the Cardinals. And then Hunter Pence, Austin Jackson. But I think Duggar definitely starts the year with the River Cats, but I think we shall see though. But the guy who needs to no baseball season starts Thursday. Von Hook, yeah, go Skittles right. Thursday is the first game, and we'll be moving to the new channel on Thursday. But I certainly think we see Steven Duggar start seasoning in AAA first, and then your center field's probably going to be a combination of Austin Jackson and Gregor Blanco, with Gorkas Hernandez maybe likely going to get released. No, the MLB changed it this year to Thursday for some weird reason. And then it looks like Kelby Tomlinson might get optioned in favor of Josh Rutledge. It'll be the Kruk and Kuip Extra Innings channel. Kruk and Kuip Extra Innings will now have its own channel. I will no longer be airing on this channel as of opening day. And now it is time to do the NL West preview. And unfortunately, who I have for 5th place this year, and this is going to alienate all of us Giants fans, is the Giants. I certainly think this is with the injuries. I just don't see the Giants. The Giants might finish dead last again this year now with the injuries to Bumgarner and Samardzija. It definitely puts a strain on Johnny Cueto, who Cueto had a shaky year himself last season, and now Cueto is going to be under the gun to perform, which also slides Chris Stratton to the 2. And Stratton's had limited time in the majors, so this is going to put a lot of pressure on Stratton. Oh, I'm excited for Giants Dodgers. I'm excited for that. And then Stratton's going to be your 2. And then your number 3 on the rotation is going to be Ty Block. That's And Block, he started off good, but he faltered down the stretch. And Block's a guy who can maybe only get you 5 innings per game. I don't see it. He doesn't can get you past 5 or 6 innings per start. But it's going to be a lot of. And then you got Derek Holland, who did not have the greatest of years last year with the White Sox. But I just don't know if they can, if the starting pitching can recover from a slow. If the Giants get themselves in a hole in April, I just don't know if they can recover. And then unfortunately after that, if the Giants are in that hole, you have to start talking about a fire sale. And this is where gambling on players like McCutchen and Longoria really hurts and gets you. Now you have to start talking a fire sale for the Giants, and Got to hope maybe McCutchen has a good enough year you can flip him for prospects, or certainly a guy who I think could most likely be traded in a bat, whether it's whether it's to acquire a starting pitcher or to get prospects back, is Joe Panic. I think Joe Panic could definitely be on the trading block for the Giants this year, and we'll see what happens with we'll see. I'm glad we didn't get Giancarlo Stanton. But I think he's going to do well at the Yankees. But I think the immovable contracts will likely be Posey and Longoria. Maybe if Brandon Belt has a good year, he can definitely become a trade chip if things don't go well for the Giants this year. Or you maybe start considering the idea of parting ways with Brandon Crawford or Johnny Cueto. But I certainly think if we're out of it by June, where I think we are, because of the pit, our pitching's just not good this year. You need to get seasoning for Beatty and Andrew Suarez before even considering calling him up, and you still have to maybe get somebody from the outside to fill the number 5 spot until some of these youngsters are ready to go. Well, I think Posey's gonna hit better now that he's got Longoria protecting him and a healthy Brandon Belt. I definitely think and this new hitting coach has looked better. But I certainly think the outfield could look a lot different by July if the Giants have to go into fire sale mode because the pitching's terrible. You could certainly see Steven Duggar up with the Giants sooner than later, so you could see Austin Jackson getting traded somewhere else. And Duggar could definitely be a guy that could possibly protect Buster Posey. And I think Posey could maybe get 20 dingers this year, and maybe his batting average gets up. But now that he's starting to get to the wrong side of 30, you could start seeing maybe the inevitable decline as him being a catcher. At some point, you got to start considering the idea of moving Buster Posey to first base. So that's where maybe you try to mold the idea of trading Brandon Belt if things don't go well. But I think Duggar's definitely one who could get up with the Giants if they start fire sailing. Another candidate to be traded this year for the Giants might be Hunter Strickland if things don't go well. Hunter Strickland Hunter Strickland is definitely not a fan favorite with the Giants, but he definitely could close games if not for the Giants with some other team, and could be flipped for prospects if things. Or Sam Dyson, maybe Dyson. Hopefully, he can turn it around from the spring trainings. Dyson has not had that great of a spring training, so Dyson needs to turn it around. Mac Williamson looked pretty good this year in spring training, so I'm kind of anxious to see Mac Williamson back up with the Giants if, say, Hunter Pence gets banged up, or if things don't go well, maybe you start asking Hunter Pence for his no trade clause. This is Hunter Pence's last year with the Giants, with his contract coming off the books. So that's certainly one thing that could. I don't see the Giants being the worst team, but without Bumgarner, I think they could maybe win only 65 games this year. I don't think they're going to be worse than the Marlins, honestly. An awards predictions episode? Oh, I can't do that one. But you also maybe get Austin Slater back up. Austin Slater had a little bit of success hitting last year for the Giants. He could be a good back end hitter if things don't go well. But Hunter Pence, that's going to be the big question mark. Can he stay healthy this year? Pence has had a couple years where he's been banged up, so there's certainly a possibility that if once Pence gets hurt again this year, you're going to see Steven Duggar up, or certainly Mac Williamson if he continues to hit the ball well in Sacramento this year. So I think certainly by next year you could see a homegrown outfield for the Giants. As I don't know if so you might see a homegrown outfield next year, and maybe Gregor Blanco. Blanco definitely could be a good base stealer. He'll probably be the good fourth outfielder. And Pablo Sandoval's actually looked pretty good in spring training this year. He's definitely looked like he's lost some weight this year. He's coming in the best shape I've ever seen Pablo Sandoval. Hopefully he can bring some pop off the bench for the Giants this year. And certainly one that's looked, and he could be trade bait if things don't go well. And then Josh Rutledge. Rutledge is looking like he's going to make the 25-man roster. He could be another one that could bring pop off the bench. And then unfortunately, I just don't. They're going to finish last, which I think means is going to spell the end of the Bruce Bochy era for the Giants. Bochy's been a great manager. We've gotten 3 rings out of Bruce Bochy, but I think the game is starting to get past him as sabermetrics is starting to take over Major League Baseball. Bobby Evans could be gone too. I certainly think a last place finish could mean the Giants are going to be cleaning house this offseason. And I think we could see a situation where the Giants and Bruce Bochy part ways after this year. And maybe Hensley Mullins could be the next manager for the Giants. But I certainly think it's going to be somebody who's an analytical manager as baseball is starting to become a younger game. And the latest managing hires are managers that are into analytics. So you definitely could see a hot young hit bench coach with some other team that's analytical come in and manage the Giants next year. If what I think is going to happen is Bochy parting ways with the Giants after this year. So this is definitely a year where I just don't see the Giants recovering from this Bumgarner injury, and they finish. I think they might win somewhere between 65 to 70 games, and it's not going to be fun. And I just think Bochy's going to hang it up, and it's going to be I think they're just going to have to finally wave the white flag and rebuild in San Francisco. And fans have just gotten spoiled on the winning of the 3 rings, and they just don't see the talent's just not there anymore. And you're really in danger of being where the Phillies were the past few years, and where the Tigers are currently having to go through a long rebuild situation. The Giants are going to end up like the Tigers unfortunately, like the Tigers and Phillies for the next few years if they're not careful. So that's fifth place for the Giants. My fourth place team is the San Diego Padres. The Friars do have slightly better pitching. Clayton Richard could be good on occasion. And then Eric Hosmer, I think, could certainly hit well at Petco Park with the shorter fences. And then they brought back Chase Headley to play third base. So they got Headley, but the rotation's not great. But you've got Clayton Richard, maybe Luis Perdomo. You definitely have a good farm system in the Padres, and maybe some of these young pitchers are ready to come up with the Padres. And they've done a pretty good job of snatching up these Rule 5 draftees. And then Will Myers this year is going to be moving into the outfield with the signing of Hosmer. But the rotation this year for the Padres, like I said, it's gonna. I don't think they're gonna be great pitching wise. But it's gonna be Clayton Richard. You got Daniel Lamet. You got Luis Perdomo, Chris Ray, and maybe Chris Ray can get it together. And then you got Brian Mitchell. But I think and then you got Fernando Galvis. Galvis is definitely one that could be. Like I said, the Padres might win somewhere between 70 to 75 games. They're not the greatest team, but the Friars are definitely a scrappy team. So I don't see. So I definitely think the Friars are going to win some games. They're not and they overachieved a bit last year, and I think 70 to 75 games for the Friars this year. My third place team this year is going to be the Arizona Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks are coming off a wild card year, but I think with the Rockies, it's slightly better this year, and then the Brewers better this year. And also though the D-backs lost JD Martinez, so so they're going to be relying more on Jake Lamb this year for the D-backs. And more is going to be expected out of Daniel Descalso and AJ Pollock. So we'll see how that works out. And then, oh yeah, I got Greinke who's hurt right now. Then Robbie Ray had a really good year last year. T1 Walker was pretty good. And then of course Patrick Corbin, who's the inconsistent for the. Patrick Corbin can certainly be traded elsewhere if they need another bat. And Zach Godley, Alex Avila, they definitely upgraded at catcher. Alex Avila is going to bring some pop in the squat this year. Got Nick Ahmed at short this year, so that's going to be good. And then Jared Dyson will be your fourth outfielder, and Chris Owing. So I think the D-backs, they're going to. I think Robbie Ray is a good pitcher. Robbie Ray was pretty good last year. So I certainly think the D-backs will finish third, but I just don't think they're going to make the postseason this year. But I do think they're going to take a bit of a step back for the D-back in Arizona this year. My second place team, the Colorado Rockies. I certainly think Trevor Story is going to rebound from a disastrous season last year. And then he got a healthy John Gray. I think that's really going to help the rotation. Oh, Harrison's definitely a candidate there. Yes, you got Charlie Blackmon in Colorado. You got Ian Desmond. Carr goes back. Gerardo Parra is your fourth. I certainly think Trevor Story could. But a healthy John Gray is really going to go a long way towards solidifying the Rockies' rotation this year. The question mark is going to be catching, though, with Chris Iannetta as your everyday catcher, along with Tony Wolters. And you got Tyler Anderson, who's good, who's going to be the two. You've got German Marquez, Chad Bettis, and then Kyle Freeland, who's hoping to have a better year than he's had in spring training. But I certainly think the bat, and then of course you got giant killer Nolan Arenado at third. So I certainly think certainly this could be the year that Colorado could give LA a run for their money. And Bud Black's a really good manager. I do like Bud Black. He's a good manager. And I certainly think Colorado could threaten LA for the West this year in this very tough NL West this year. And of course, the first place team, the LA Dodgers. Yes, the LA Dodgers. Reign of Terror will continue this year. And there'll be a 60th year of Dodger baseball. And yeah, the Dodgers are going to be without Justin Turner for the time being, but they certainly have the talent to shore up an injury. They'll definitely have the talent where they can definitely play through an injury such as Justin Turner. So that's but I don't think the Dodgers are going to win as many games as last year. I don't think they're going to win. I think they're going to definitely get chased by the Rockies this year, and the Nationals are better and whatnot. But the pitching is definitely one where I don't think it's as good as it's going to be last year. Kershaw is still Kershaw. Then you got Bellinger. That's definitely going to help you there. Then you got Alex Wood as your two, and then Rich Hill. But Rich Hill, can he be dependent on this year? Rich Hill can be injury prone. Same thing with Alex Wood. And then Kentai Maeda had a down year this last year for the Dodgers. And then Ryu, who I think is going to probably move into the bullpen once they get back. I certainly think you'll probably see Ryu go to the bullpen once they get back Julio Urias later this year. And they definitely have a young starting pitcher who might be up with the Dodgers sooner than later. It could be Walker Bueller, Bueller, Bueller. That's right. The top prospect Walker Bueller could be up with the Dodgers, especially if both Ryu and Maeda struggle like they did last year. And there was a time last year where you saw Maeda go to the bullpen. And then the bullpen is a skosh weaker this year too. I mean, Singrani. The question's gonna you got maybe Stripling. I think Yasiel Puig's gonna be. Don't be surprised if you see Yasiel Puig get traded for bullpen help later this year. They're going to have to find a way to get a. They need to get a proven setup man for Kenley Jansen this year. The bridge to Jansen is something that's not set in stone, and that's definitely going to be the weak part for the Dodgers this year is going to be the bullpen this year. But they definitely have the hitting that they can shore up a Turner injury. They've certainly got Seager, and then you got Corey Bellinger. You've got Taylor, and then of course you got Matt Kemp, Yasmani Grindal, and Logan Forsythe. So that's definitely one way LA could definitely shore up an injury like that. Puig to the Nats. I actually think you might see Puig go to somewhere like Baltimore if they're out of it, or maybe Kansas City. I certainly think you could see someone like Kelvin Herrera come to the Dodgers. I think Kelvin Herrera would be a really good setup man for Kenley Jansen. Or you could see possibly if they go out and acquire another starter, maybe Puig or Matt Kemp to Tampa Bay. Because I certainly think that there could be crazy enough that as good as the Dodgers are too, they've got a deep farm system, and if there's some players that are really good in the farm, they definitely are looking to shed salary and get and stay below the CBT. So there's certainly a good chance maybe both Puig and Kemp both get traded if they find the right partners, especially because of the holes in the bullpen. I certainly think the Dodgers front office is smart and they want to stay below that CBT too. But you and Oklahoma City, the Dodgers definitely have a deep farm system where they can unload salary and not miss somebody like that. So the Dodgers are learning to win with their farm this year, but I don't see the Dodgers getting back to the World Series. I do think you're going to see a bit of a hangover this year in LA, and Washington's better this year. You definitely got a better Chicago team, but I think Chicago's got the better pitching over the Dodgers, so I don't think they're going to get any further than say maybe a divisional series this year, or maybe no further than the NLCS if anything. And then of course I think Colorado's going to chase them this year. I don't see the Dodgers winning 100 games this year. It might be somewhere between 90 and 95 games in LA this year because the pitching's much weaker this year in LA, and they're definitely going to have to shed salary in order to re-sign Clayton Kershaw, who's going to probably be 200 to 300 million easily. But we shall see now. Now it's on to the Giants' week at a glance. Starting Thursday, the Giants play the LA Dodgers. And your opening day starter out of all that, crazy enough, your opening day starter will be one Ty Block, your opening day starter for the Giants. I thought it would be in a year where you thought it would be, where normally this would be Madison, where I was looking forward to another Bumgarner Kershaw showdown. But that ain't happening anytime soon. So instead, you're getting Ty Block. And that will be your opening day game right there. And then possibly game 2 will be Rich Hill against. And then game 2 will likely be putting Rich Hill up against Johnny Cueto. Game 3 between the Giants and the Dodgers will likely be. And then your third game in April will be. But it will be probably Rich Hill against Johnny Cueto, and then then the third game of the series next Sunday will likely be Chris Stratton against Alex Wood. So this could unfortunately be a series where if they're not careful, I certainly think the Giants could get swept and start the year 0-3 before heading home to play the Seattle Mariners in their home opener. Then they get to come back to play the Giants play the Dodgers again at AT&T Park the following weekend. The majority of the first month will be against NL West teams. You're going to have Arizona coming home. Then they go on the road to play the Friars and the D-backs, and then go to Orange County to play the Angels. So most of April for the Giants will be up against the NL West. So that's definitely going to put the Giants in an 8-ball right there, matchup wise, especially with the pitching. So that's really going to hurt. But maybe the bats can bail them out. But hopefully I'm wrong with my predictions. But that's why they play the game. Fact or fiction? Trout wins the AL MVP and Harper wins the NL MVP. I'm going to say fiction on the NL, fact for the AL. I think Harper could actually be distracted this year with his contract coming up. So I think his production could maybe suffer a bit this year. So we'll see what happens with that. But I will be back Thursday night on the new channel. And hopefully on the new channel, everybody subscribes to that. And I'm hoping to have some co-hosts on there this year. Have other Giants co-hosts but beginning Thursday, I'm almost going to be on every single night on air. Arenado or Chris. I think Nolan Arenado. No, maybe Chris Bryant. I'm going to go with Chris Bryant. I certainly think the Cubs are going to be on a mission this year. But yeah, as of Thursday, I'm almost going to be on air almost every single night after every single Giants game. So hopefully we have a lot of fun this year. I am looking forward to the regular season, and hopefully we'll talk have some really fun. And also a little side note: one of the CSN correspondents, our good A's and Sharks friend Brody Brazil, is doing a late night show on Periscope right now, and it's a very good show. I think you should go watch it. And Brody Brazil covers the A's and the Sharks on NBC Sports California, and those teams don't get no respect. So definitely that's a good show to watch. As I say, the A's and Sharks don't get as much exposure in the Bay Area as, say, the Giants and the Warriors. Oh, I think the Sharks are going to be poised for a deep playoff run this year. Well, I certainly think with that Evander Kane trade is looking better and better by the day, especially if the Sharks can re-sign Evander Kane long term. But definitely watch Brody Brazil on Periscope after he's on air most nights, and he's definitely a good correspondent for NBC Sports California. Well, everybody have a good night and have a good week. I will see you Thursday. Good night on the new channel. Thursday on the new channel. Peace.